Good evening. Oh, it is on. Good evening. My name is Rob Cagnetta, and this is the meeting of the South Kingstown, Rhode Island Zoning Board of Review. Members tonight that are present are Bill Rosen, Arlene Hicks, and Kevin Diamond. Also present are Matt Oliverio, who is our special legal counsel, Jamie Gorman, the South Kingstown Building and Zoning Official, and Jessica Spence, our Administrative Support Associate. The board is made up of 7 people, and 5 are regular voting members, but only 4 are required to be present to vote. In the event that there are fewer than 4 members, an alternate will step in. No more than 5 members are entitled to vote. So tonight, we will all be voting. Ms. Hicks, who's normally an alternate, will be voting. Applicants are here either for a variance, either dimensional or use, or to seek a special use permit. The board is a quasi-judicial board created by the South Kingstown Ordinance pursuant to state statutes. We don't follow strict rules of evidence, and we operate in what we believe to be in a fair and equitable manner. We try to let everyone speak, unless you get carried away, or it's determined not to be relevant. So in the interest of time, please try to stay on point and be brief. We do our best not to argue, and we keep things civil, and we try to have our last petition heard by 10 o'clock, or started by 10 o'clock. When your petition is called, please come forward. Speak clearly into the microphone. You might have to adjust it. It's okay. You'll be asked to state your name and spell it for the record and take an oath to tell the truth. The applicant can then present the petition along with any other witnesses to testify in its support, with the board asking questions. After the application is presented, their testimony, the board will seek public testimony either in support or opposition. They will be asked to be stepped forward, state their name and spell it, be sworn in, present their testimony, again to be followed up by board questions. So the questions or comments to the applicant or other witnesses can be made through the board, so just feel free to come up and speak. And then we'll allow the applicant to respond after the comment period. So after all the testimony and before a vote is taken, the board will openly discuss the application and the evidence presented. The variances or the special use permits require 3 voting members to vote in favor for the petition to be requested relief. Board members will ask a lot of questions, and there's a good reason. We cannot grant anything we choose. We follow rules per our South Kingstown's ordinance. So you have to give testimony in support of certain facts to allow your request to be approved. So you're either here for a dimensional variance or a special use permit. For a variance, you must offer the evidence to the board setting forth the following: that your hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and is not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area; that your hardship is not the result of any prior action on your part; and that the granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area; and that the relief requested is the least relief necessary; and you must show that the hardship that will be suffered if the variance is not granted will amount to more than a mere inconvenience. For a special use permit, you must present the following: that your special use permit is requested, that you're requesting is specifically authorized by the zoning ordinance. So somewhere in the zoning ordinance, it has to authorize it, or else we don't have the power to grant it. You wouldn't be here if that were the case. But a special use permit also has to meet the criteria set forth in the zoning ordinance authorizing such special use, and that granting of the special use permit will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area or impair the purpose or the intent of the zoning ordinance. This evening, we decided we don't have anything necessary to talk about, right? Okay, great. So we'll go in the order that it's listed on the agenda. So we'll start with the continuation for the petition of Philip B. Corton of 95 Bellington Avenue, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, who's seeking a 1-year dimensional variance extension under the zoning ordinance section 908B, which is an extension of time on conditional approval. So the applicant was originally granted a dimensional variance on June 16th, 2021. to demolish the existing dwelling and storage shed and construct a new dwelling and detached garage. The dwelling will be located 8.4 feet from the front property line, and the detached garage will be located 18.2 feet from the property line. The requested front yard setback is 25 feet. The relief of 16.6 feet for the dwelling and 6.8 for the garage is requested. The detached garage will be located 3 feet from the side property line. The required yard setback is 10 feet, so a relief of 7 is requested. So the lot size is 25,200 square feet. So the dimensional variance was granted under our zoning ordinance, section 207, which is the non-conforming lots of building setback requirements, and section 208, accessory building setback requirements, and section 503, accessory structures, and section 907. That received a conditional approval and had a 2-year expiration date from the original recorded date of July 1st, 2021. And that's in the Land Evidence Book 1797, pages 731 and 732. So the owner of the property is Philip B. Corton, and the premises located at 95 Billington Avenue in South Kingstown. Assessor's map 69-2, lot 28, and is zoned R40, just a little bit more. For the documents, we have the requested letter for a 1-year extension dated April 9th of this year. The zoning decision, which is 3 pages, granted on June 16th of 2021 and recorded in South Kingstown Land Evidence 1797, page 731 and 32 on July 1st, 2021. The letter dated April 28th, 2023, requesting a continuation until the June 21st hearing, and then a 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legals notice, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening.
And you are?
Philip Corton, Philip B. Corton, P-H-I-L-L-I-P, space B as in boy, space C-O-U-R-T-E-N.
Excellent. So you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So go ahead, what would you like to do?
So I'd like to get another 1-year dimensional variance. I know that I was originally granted 2 years. The original approval really took place right in the middle of COVID. We went to CRMC. It took more than 8 months to get through that process just because of availability of people, not only CRMC people, but architects and surveyors and modifying plans. Sure. So we're able to successfully modify all that by April of 2022, at which point I started to interview builders who are all, as you probably know, rather backed up. Some are just saying, I can't even talk to you for 2 years. Right. So there's been challenges in just getting builders, getting estimates, evaluating them, and so that's been my challenge. Of course, I think for the sake of my neighbors, the idea is to try to do a groundbreaking sometime in the fall rather than the middle of the summer because people are vacationing. So I'm seeking a 1-year extension.
So like it said, nothing's changed. Everything's the same. Conditions are the same. Site's the same. And do you feel confident that you'll be able to fit it within that time frame?
I'm hopeful.
Fair. And I'll ask legal counsel. So if he, for some reason, can't get it finished by then or started by this expiration, he can come back again? Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Great. That makes sense. Is that all right? So basically, you can come back and ask again.
Sure, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to make every effort to just make this the last extension, but some things are unfortunately out of my control.
No, absolutely. So board members, any questions for the applicant? Nope.
Just a quick question.
Sure, Mr. Rosen.
The plans are still the same. Nothing's changed, correct?
Correct.
You have approval from CRMC.
Correct.
Okay. You want to start in the fall? This fall?
Ideally, I would like to start this fall.
Do you have somebody to start
I
construction?
do not have somebody yet to start this, and I have a few people I'm talking to, and that's on their timeline. It remains to be seen whether I can get it scheduled that soon.
And you're confident
The CRMC expiration is February 23rd, 2025, just as an FYI. So that's the the other deadline date for me.
Okay, thank you for that information. And you're confident that you'll be able to do this within the 9 months or so that you're going to have available to you before having to come back maybe for another extension?
Yes, as I said, I'm based on the discussions I've had so far, I'm hopeful, still remains to get contracts negotiated with builders and have them make sure they've opened up availability to actually get permits, start the process. Obviously, with a demo, there's a lot of extra preliminary work that has to go into it in terms of infrastructure and electrical and all that. So that's one of the other gating items that we're dealing with.
Well, I wish you well. I went down there and looked at it. I remember it well, and I met you at that time, I believe.
That's right. Good.
Good luck.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Don't leave.
Hang on, one sec. Any other questions, board members?
So
All right.
I think
go ahead.
the ordinance provides, as long as you obtain the permit within that time period, I don't think
It doesn't have to be
you
completed.
don't have to
by-
complete construction, it's the issuance of the permit.
Okay,
Okay.
so, yep. And then once you're issued a permit,
You'd have 6 months
6 months
from issuance.
to complete the whole project?
No, to begin.
To begin.
Oh, okay, to begin within that 6 months of pulling the permit. Got it.
Yeah, and I've been told it's a 12-month process of the full project minimum.
Well, that doesn't really have a sunset at that point. It can take you a couple of years. You just can't occupy it because you won't have a CO.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how long it takes, once they start. So you have to.
Matters to me, but,
Right. Right?
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience have anything to say on this petition, for or against? Nope? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Any decision that's granted will need an expiration of July 1st, 2024, which is a year from the original recorded, 2 years from the original recorded date.
3.
3, but yeah.
Yeah, normally 2, but yeah, COVID. Okay, any other discussion? Nope. Anyone like to make a motion?
I guess I will. Okay, the motion to approve, I make the motion to approve the petition of Philip B. Corton of 95 Billington Avenue, Wakefield, Rhode Island, seeking a 1-year dimensional variance extension. And as noted by the chair, who read the petition into the record, this 1-year extension will be up as of July 1st, 2024, in which case he has to obtain a permit. Philip Gordon was the only one to speak. There was no opposition or support of this petition. As a result, the board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or
You don't have to go through all that.
I do not, and I will not go through that. Okay. Okay, there was good cause. And as a result, I move approval of the petition.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Hicks. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks? Aye. Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Next, we have the petition of Scott Carraro of 31 Samuel Rodman Street in Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows, that the applicant is seeking to construct a 3-story single-family dwelling located 25 feet from the front property line. The required front yard setback is 35 feet, therefore a 10-foot relief is requested. Lot size is 2.01 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, Section 401, Schedule of Dimensional Regulations, and Section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property is Scott Carraro. I'll get it.
Correo.
Carrero. For premises located at South Kingstown Assessors Map 43-1, Lot 78, and is zoned R20. And for this petition, we have the application dated and signed on April 28th, 2023. Owner authorization signed and notarized February 15th, 2023. Plot plan, which is one page, prepared by Dupree Engineering and stamped and signed by Robert G. Babcock, PLS, and dated April 7th of this year. Architectural renderings, 2 pages. And then a 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailing, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And you are?
Scott Corrao. It's Corrao.
And are you going to speak as well?
I'm Candace Corrao, same Corrao, Candace.
All right. And you guys both swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
We did.
Excellent. So go ahead. What would you guys like to do?
So we're seeking a dimensional variance of 10 feet. We're, in the process of getting this thing through CRMC, and this is something they asked us to do as part of their requirements for like variance criteria. So that is it. They want to sort of increase the size of the buffer that comes off the river in the back of the house. So this is our.
So tell us about the property. What is it that's sort of preventing you from building it within the setbacks? Like, why can't you build it where you're quote-unquote allowed to?
Yeah, I mean, if it was up to us, we would. It's CRMC that has asked us to see.
What's unique about the property that's forcing you to build?
It's right on the river, and there's a big, because it's a new property, there's a buffer that needs to sort of extend out a certain amount from the river. I think the normal buffer would be 150 feet, but that would put the house in the middle of the road. So we're asking them to have like 75 feet, and they want more than 75 feet.
Okay, so they're sort of dictating that this is the best placement for the house? Basically by the setback that they're asking you to do?
They didn't ask us for a specific distance. They just said seek us a variance, and so.
From us or from them?
From us, from you guys, yeah.
Okay, so from them, you're doing the minimum or the max, or the minimum you could do?
Yeah, I don't, honestly, they asked for 10 feet? Yes, that's correct.
So, we have that up there. I can't see that dimension to that corner, and that's the flagging of the wetlands on the top. I don't use my glasses, I can read it.
25.
Yeah, so the house is there in the upper right hand, or the lower right-hand corner. See, that's kind of, yeah.
That's 75, am I reading, or 94 and a half feet from the wetland edge? Is that right? Am I seeing that right? Yeah. So, and that secondary line that's on the plan there is basically what they're asking for you to, like, that 10-foot 2 represents where they want you to be. So
Yeah.
you're 10-foot 2 from their barrier, where they're saying is where they want disturbance or where they want the house? Is that?
Yeah, from the house, they want the buffer to come 10 feet and 4 inches from the house, wherever the house is. So they want as much buffer as they can get.
So that 10 feet, is that because they don't want you to disturb anything closer than that 10 feet? Meaning that if you built that house on the 10-foot line, you'd have to disturb another 10 feet out, right? Because
Yes.
of machines and people. So they're asking you to build 10 feet away, essentially, from that point? Meaning like you can't move your house back 10 feet?
If I'm understanding it correctly, I think the answer is yes. I mean, like today, that's just a flat, like, piece of mowed lawn, you know what I mean? But once we get through coastal, then the buffer will grow and we will not be able to disturb it. So yes, we're talking about the future.
So, well, because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what's determining where you're putting the house? Is it CRMC that's determining where you're putting the house?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so they're the ones that said that, and do you have someone here with you that besides you? Guys,
No.
Explain it. I only see someone nodding behind you, and I didn't know if
Oh,
you were.
that's my parents.
Oh, okay. So, sure, why don't you come up? If you have some of these answers, just spell your name and,
My name is William Corrao, Corrao. I'm the original owner of that property.
and you swear to tell the whole truth?
We had to tell the truth,
Nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth. Without going into the bit of details, when we built our home, which is to the right of that plan, we had a 20-foot buffer that we had to provide for coastal resources improvement. That has been moved out, I think, 75 feet
Got it.
from, I believe, the buffer of 20 feet that we already had from 2000, 1999, 2000. And as Scott has already said, if they push it any further, the buffer will be in the middle of Middlebridge Road. That whole piece of property that you see to the left is a mowed piece of property. We've kept it updated, and again, since we moved in. And when the pre did this format, they told us that was the only place that the house could be positioned. I'm not an engineer.
Sure.
This lower left-hand corner, I assume the squiggly line is, again, part of the buffer, which I don't quite understand, because that is as far away from the wetlands as you can possibly be. And
I
yet,
don't know if they're talking flood zone or
no, I mean, this is just coastal resources and buffer.
okay.
And again, my understanding is that was the only plan. I question this, having gone through a number of renovations, items that they proposed to us as to where that house could be placed before we subdivided it. And it never made any sense to me that that was the only place. But as Scott has already said, that house is, you can see the stone wall at the lower portion of the lot plan there. There's not that much distance to the road. There's only a little, maybe an 8 or 10 foot sidewalk, so to speak, that's there. So despite the fact that there's 2 acres of land there, we're being dictated that that's the only place that that house can be placed.
So even that, even the garage and is getting closer to that buffer line, it looks like.
In fact, this is the first time I think I've seen this plan, or maybe I did see it a few months ago, and realized how far the buffer is coming in.
So that buffer, so what we're looking at, that buffer line is that, lack of a better.
I believe that's the buffer line.
That's the buffer line, but then the wetland edge is all.
Wetland is there, and then the river is further away. There's a fairly large size of marsh that's in that particular area. I tried to give it back to South County. They didn't want it, but it's basically right in front of where the house will be. With the again, I can't read the dimensions from here, but a significant amount of property between where the current house is and where the old buffer was.
Right, because when did you build your house?
2000.
2000.
1999 to 2000.
I mean, it's significantly closer than the proposed, meaning like your house is.
There was an existing structure there. And,
okay.
And after going back and forth for a couple of years, they allowed us to build on the foundation that was there, on the dimensions of the home that were there.
Got it. Okay, I'm hogging this up. Anybody else have questions for the applicants?
I do, yes. So just because I'm actually quite familiar with the site, and also what you're going through. Essentially, CRMC wants you to be as far away from the coastal feature as possible. This ordinance that we represent essentially needs you to be as far away from, within the setbacks, right? So you have these two opposing forces that you're trying
Yes, sir.
to negotiate. I think what I still don't understand, based off your drawing set, is why can't the rear of the home, the planned north edge of the site, be built, or planned north edge of the structure proposed, be built against the vegetative buffer? I think that's my. Why is there an additional buffer on the buffer? Yeah, that's the part that I don't really understand. Yeah.
So typically, you're going to have to install, per CRMC, like markers to delineate that buffer, and you can't store materials or drive equipment or even probably mow the grass anymore. So 10 feet's probably what you're gonna need for like excavation and site work, yeah.
Lay down space. Okay, got it. So it's not, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Whatever, for whatever it was worth, we were required, we were allowed to put native plantings in that 20-foot buffer. This, again, goes back 20, 23, 24 years ago. I don't know what they're allowing, if they're allowing anything. But right now, that's just a lawn that's been like this for the last 23 years.
So did the CRMC essentially instruct you, or your architect, or I guess the PREET, to keep a 10-foot buffer between the vegetative and the northern edge of the building?
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
So that this has been sort of like a back and forth.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Now, have you already gotten a preliminary determination from them?
I'm sorry, say again?
A PD? Have you gone through the CRMC to get a PD yet? Like, how far along are you
So
through?
I'm not familiar with that particular term, but we did like go through a few months of process with the CRMC, and then they sent us back a list of things we should do, and this was the first thing we should do is apply for a variance. So maybe that's what that is.
Without this, they can't get that.
I understand. Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely it's a trajectory. I just want to, one of our standards, obviously, is the least relief necessary. So
Yep.
adding an additional 10 feet is obviously, it has to be a reason. Which I understand for you, you probably don't want to be any further forward than you probably have to for your own enjoyment of the site. So,
Yeah, no doubt. Right,
would
exactly. I
call-
mean, our original plan had the house 10 feet back.
right. It's for your own enjoyment of the property. You're not just arbitrarily saying, hey, let's just shift it south. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Got it.
Trying to have as much
Yeah.
much of it as we can.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I just needed to understand the buffer on the buffer.
Totally.
Anyone else questions of these folks?
William,
Mr. Rosen.
William, good name, by the way. You own the house on the right, is that correct?
Yeah, that whole piece of property was 3.77 acres.
And you own the property on the left, too?
We owned, let's see, I got to get oriented here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you just talk, you just talk into the mic, please? Thank you.
It's all right, only because it's recorded.
I said, I thought this was going to be a no-brainer because we had that much property to the north. And when the engineering came in, I had difficulty understanding why that was the only place the house could be placed. Again, not being an engineer, I thought that left-hand corner would be the most likely one because that was wooded from the road down to the watermark. But yet, for whatever reason, that's the only place that they say that house can go. And it's a two-acre piece of property. And for those of you who are familiar with Middlebridge Road, you know that there are homes now being built on a piece of property about the size of this. But it is what it is. We can't argue with CRMC.
Yeah. We've had a couple of those already to deal with.
I'm sure.
So anyway, there's a driveway that comes directly out of Torrey Road and goes down towards the river.
That is the home that you see that 465C?
Yeah,
That's the one that comes directly from Torrey. There's a break in the wall that you could see on the previous map that is, excuse me.
that's, come back. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here.
Okay.
That house is way back off the road, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you own that house?
This,
No.
no.
No. Oh, that's somebody else's house.
That's somebody else's house. Our house is the one to the south.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because when I was down there, I assumed that I was supposed to drive down that driveway. And that was going to be,
There have been many people, I think, that have driven down that driveway.
Not always on purpose.
yeah, yeah. But this house that Scott wants to have and Candace, that's going to be on the property that's right next to that driveway, correct? Okay. That's all wetlands back there, then? That's why CRMC is so protective of it? It's wetlands, besides all the grass that you've planted.
Right. I mean, we were allowed, we could just have it overgrown. We were allowed to plant natural plantings. Again, this was the original 20-foot buffer.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to clarify where I was.
Okay. You were in the other property.
No, I eventually found it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, board members? Nope. Okay, you guys want to add anything else so far? I don't think so. Okay. We'll see if there's anybody out here that wants to talk about it. Otherwise, we'll see what we come up with. Anyone in the audience want to speak on behalf of this petition, either for or against? For? Let me guess, you're related. It's a chorus. Okay, board members, any thoughts on this in particular? The size of the house seems reasonable. It's only 34 deep or so. I think it'd be unreasonable to ask for a 24-foot deep house and a 10-foot deep garage.
Park your golf cart only.
Right. You know, and it seems reasonable to the other buildings surrounding it. The only consideration is that it's close to the road, and will it throw things off being that close to the road?
But it's 25 feet, so we've approved less.
Okay.
Just one small thing on the closeness to the road. Obviously, on that side of the road, you know, the house to the right and the left are set further back. If you go like right across the street, there's houses that are like on the road, like right on the road. So just FYI.
So, and I didn't ask this, but it is unreasonable to make the house, or is it feasible to make the house, I should say, 25 feet deep and your garage 10 feet deep, like to not have any variance at all? Is it kind of feasible?
No, that's not feasible.
Just figured I'd ask.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Since it seems like it does kind of fit with the neighborhood.
I hope they talk to their neighbors to the south.
They're not here, so.
Just,
Oh,
yeah, mom and dad.
yeah, well,
It makes
seems like they have their blessing. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion for this, or?
Mr. Cagnetta?
Yes.
Any motion would have a 2-year expiration for CRMC approvals.
You want to? I mean, I'll do it. Okay. Go for it.
Okay. I'd like to, oh my. My screen's going to go dark and I'm going to not have the information in front of me. I know, I try to be fancy today. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition of Scott Carrero, who spoke on behalf of his proposed home with his family. The following individuals spoke at the hearing in support of the request: the applicant, the applicant's partner and father, and mom briefly. There was no opposition to the request. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the land in not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is due to a physical, so essentially, given the fact that the site butts the coastal feature, it was obvious to the board that the building has to be located outside of not only the coastal feature, but the vegetative buffer, and then a small buffer off the buffer to allow for constructability of the home. Seemed perfectly reasonable to this board that the reason for this project to appear before us tonight is certainly due to the unique characteristics of this site. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire for the applicant to realize greater financial gain. It was evident to this board that, again, this is the hardship here is certainly due to the conditions of the site. There was nothing that the applicant did to cause this situation, and this doesn't seem in any way to be with the intent of realizing any sort of economic gain. The board finds that granting of the requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. As the applicant mentioned at the end of his presentation, that there are certainly several houses within eyesight of the property that do approach the street, and some that are set back further, and this one certainly falls within that build-to zone, or implied build-to zone visually, that the houses within that urban fabric represent. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary. As discussed, there really isn't any reasonable way to shrink the dimensions of the home or the garage in a way that would result in any sort of a reasonable home for someone to live in without us granting this dimensional variance. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property if the dimensional variance is not granted amounts to more than a mere inconvenience. Again, if this variance was not granted, there would be really no reasonable way to enjoy this property by way of building a home to live in. We are not placing any conditions on this approval. Two-year conditional approval. My apologies. Okay, and I move to pass this, approve this petition.
Awesome, thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rosen. Any other discussion? Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks? Aye. Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Stay dry. Okay, next.
I'll get there.
Next on the agenda is the petition of Stephen and Kathleen Crawley of 68 Homewood Avenue in North Providence, Rhode Island, 02911, for a special use permit under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to convert a 200-square-foot screened porch into a living area. The lot size is 50.2 acres, which is a special use permit is needed per the zoning ordinance section 203, or special use permit for addition, enlargement, expansion, or intensification. Section 608, or coastal community overlay district, and section 907, or standards of relief. The owners of the cottage, 17E15, are Stefan M. and Kathleen M. Crawley, on property owned by Matunic Beach Properties, Inc., located 240 Cards Pond Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 92-1, Lot 9-200, and is zoned R200, rather. And for this petition, we have the application with the cover letter signed and dated May 10th of this year, owner authorization signed and notarized May 6th, existing plan overview, which is 1 page, existing site plan, which is 1 page, proposed site plan 1 page, floor plans and elevation, A101, photo of existing cottage, which is 1 page. A 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. And Who is here tonight? Oh, good evening. So it's Stefan? Not,
It's actually Stephen,
okay,
just spelled differently.
just spelled a little bit differently, okay.
Yes.
And it was spelled differently twice, so that's why I kind of
Yes.
all over the place. But good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kelly Morris Salvatore. I'm an attorney representing Kathleen and Stephen Crawley. I do have some recent pictures of adjacent cottages that we'd like to submit for the record.
Sure.
Would you like, okay.
Do we have to mark them first? Yep. Okay. Actually, one, applicants one? Did you get one? No.
Surrounding cottages, yes.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is an application under your coastal community overlay district. This property, this cottage, has been the subject of special use permits in the past, most recently on November 4th, 2011, where a special use permit was granted to enclose an open deck with a roof and screens. As you mentioned, you have a copy of the existing structure, and currently it's essentially floor-to-ceiling openings. So the zoning official determined that the applicant should come back to you for essentially enclosing it even more, bringing up the wall. I think there's a plan in the set that shows that the windows will be more like regular windows rather than floor-to-ceiling. So it's more enclosed. The proposal is to enclose it more than it is now.
So was there a determination by the building inspector that this was pushing the limit?
Yes.
Is there a violation on it per se, or are you just asking them to submit based on how, or no?
No, they're looking to actually frame in the walls and put in permanent windows. I think what they have are currently screens and maybe plexiglass.
Yes.
Okay, so it's in compliance now, it's just a matter of making it permanent.
Correct.
So having those sort of storms is okay? Is considered still an open?
It's pushing the limit.
That's why I asked.
So, well, to be clear, my client bought this property in May 2021.
I was just
No,
curious as to where,
Yes, no, I
this is
understand.
coming from.
We've had a lot of discussions with staff about this, and Amy Goins, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So they determined that it was appropriate to come back for that, a further relief, because we are enclosing it more than it is now. And as I said, my client bought the property in 2021, as is, as you see in that, in that photograph. So with regard to the standards for a special use permit, this is under 6008.7A2. That is the section specifically authorizing this special use permit, which again is under the Coastal Community Overlay District, and specifically number 2, the enclosure and conversion of open porches or decks to living area. So that is the specific relief that we are asking for. With regard to the standards, I would say that pretty much all of them are existing conditions. So with regard to ingress and egress, this is Roy Carpenter's beach. So the ingress and egress is what it is. They're not changing anything other than further enclosing the structure.
but it's not getting, the site's not, the property's not getting bigger. The building's not getting bigger.
The building is going to be exactly the same.
Exactly the same, it's
They're
just closing in those
literally
walls.
filling in the walls and adding, regular-looking windows.
So is this enlarging the footprint by any means, not
No.
more than 50%?
No, it's not.
No, it's exactly the same.
No, well, it's the difference of it being an open porch, so you have more living area, more gross living, floor living area.
It's an increase in living area. The previous approval was for enclosure of a porch
Right.
with screens, so it's already considered enclosed. It's a matter of an intensification.
Okay. So it's not increasing floor,
It is going to be
is.
floor area.
oh, it is, but it's within the 50% of the original.
It's within the limits, correct?
It's within the limits, okay.
Okay.
Yep, it's
I understand.
confusing
We've
for
had-
us, so I,
Yes.
I'm just,
No, we've had these conversations, so I totally understand all of your questions on this.
yeah, I'm learning too.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So again, the second standard is off-street parking and loading areas where required must be addressed. Nothing is changing. Trash, storage, and delivery areas, nothing is changing. Utilities, nothing is changing. Screening, buffering, signs, there are no signs. We're not changing screening and buffering. And required yards and other open space, again, this is Roy Carpenter's Beach. This sits in the middle of it. There's no effect on required yards and other open space. I presented to you, I believe it was 9 photographs of various neighboring cottages right in the area of Roy Carpenter's Beach, showing essentially exactly what they're going to do. So there's not going to be any difference if you're talking, I mean, the standard is specifically general compatibility with lots in the same or abutting lots in the same zoning district. Obviously, Roy Carpenter's Beach is one lot, but we thought it would be appropriate to show you neighboring cottages that have done the same thing. In fact, I'm sure that you granted another one of these about 4 months ago or so on a neighboring property, very similar.
Not uncommon.
I'm sorry?
It's not uncommon for
Yes.
that area.
So I do have the property owners here if you have any questions, but I thought this was pretty straightforward, so I figured I'd present it and see if you wanted any specific testimony.
Board members, do you have any questions of the applicant representative?
One question.
Mr. Rosen?
The distance between the neighboring cottages, 15, still remaining 15 feet. Is that correct?
I'm not following.
On either side of this property.
Of the
It's got to be
cottage.
15 feet to the neighboring.
It's the 12.6. Nothing is changing in terms of,
Oh, it's 12,
Yeah, ideally you want to have 15, but it's not
right.
required per se, but they're not making it.
this is an existing structure. So we're not changing anything.
So, Mr. Rosen's point, if they wanted to expand on the side that's currently 12.4, they would be prohibited from doing that because it's less than 15, but they're just maintaining what they currently have.
We've required 15 feet in a lot of cases.
If it's,
But this
you have
is
to
already existing, so
yes,
it's, yeah.
you can maintain
I
existing.
got it. That's it.
Any other questions? Ms. Hicks?
One quick question. This is an actual photograph of the existing cottage today,
Correct.
and all you're really doing is moving the wall up.
Correct. And adding regular windows. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Anything else to add?
Nope.
That's it? Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience care? Want to speak on behalf of this petition? I'm bringing back days of Mr. George. Okay, any other discussion? Someone want to make a motion? Feel lucky?
You want me to do it again?
Well, you can. I'll do the next one, I promise.
No, I'll do it. There are others.
It's a softball.
Okay, this is a sup, right? Okay, make a motion to approve the petition of, who are the owners? Stephen and Kathleen Crawley. Speaking on their behalf was Miss Salvatore? Yeah, okay. There were no other individuals that spoke for or against this petition. The chairman has already read the petition into the record, so there's no reason to go over that again. The board finds that the special use is specifically authorized by this ordinance because, as the Ms. Salvatore stated, it fits directly into 603.2, I believe you said, and nothing is going to change. All they're doing is really further enclosing the porch into a more substantial, shaky proposition, as they all these cottages are. If the hurricane out in the Atlantic comes to fruition here shortly. The board finds that the special use meets all of the criterion set forth in the subsection of the ordinance authorizing such a special use. And as Ms. Salvatore said, the granting of this special use will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the ordinance or the comprehensive plan of the town. And it meets all the ingress, egress rules, off-street parking, trash storage, delivery, utilities, screening, buffering, signs, and all of that. Nothing is really going to change with respect to this. They're just simply adding a few walls and a few new windows to the structure. And as a result, I move for approval of this petition.
Motion is made by Mr. Rosen. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Hicks. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Turn my mic on. I'm on mute. All right.
We can still hear you.
I know. Voice can carry.
Yep.
All right. Next, we have the petition of Renee Driscoll of 85 Cherry Road in Kingston, Rhode Island, 82881, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a 24 by 32-foot detached residential garage 15 feet from the property line. The required yard setback is 25 feet, therefore a 10 feet relief is requested. The height of the garage will be 21.6. The maximum height allowed for an accessory structure is 15 feet, therefore a 6'6" relief is requested. The lot size is .45 acres. A dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 401, schedule of dimensional regulations, section 503, accessory structures, and section 907 are standards of relief. The owners of the property are William Lucci and Renee and Driscoll for premises located at 85 Cherry Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 31-2, Lot 22, and is zoned R20. And for this, we have the application signed and dated May 9th, 2023. Owner's authorization signed and notarized May 10th. Elevation and floor plan of 2 pages, site plan of 1 page, prepared by Atlas Land Surveying LLC, stamped and signed by Marcus Channel, PLS for dated May 10th, 2023. 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening.
And who are you guys?
I'm Renee Driscoll.
Okay.
And William Lucci, L-E-U-C-I.
Okay, and spell your last name for me.
Driscoll.
And you guys swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
We do.
Excellent. So tell me what you guys like to do.
So the existing house is kind of uniquely built. It is a slab on grade. It is elevated from the rest of the yard, and
Can you speak into the microphone?
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can adjust it so you can.
Yeah, it's a slab on grade, and there's a lot of different roof lines. It was kind of added to, so there's a very small attic. So we're requesting this variance so that we can build a garage with a storage area up above it. That's 2 cars wide and still meets the requirements of the state for, peak for snow load.
So, well, what do you mean for the peak? Yeah.
Well, at 24 feet, in order to have a peak, it has to be over 15 feet high. So we're looking to add storage up above the garage, to add the garage space because there's no garage at the house, and a couple more driveway spaces so that the neighbors don't have to try to back out around our kids' cars.
It's a narrow street, and we have 3 additional drivers, teenagers that live with us. So they're all parked on the street because our driveway is only 2 spaces wide.
Got it.
So we're looking to get the cars off the road, because the neighbors do complain, and
Got it. Okay. So, is it living spaces on the second floor, or is it just? No services? I mean, you're gonna have electricity up there, but
Electricity only.
no plumbing or anything like that?
No.
I mean, you can.
we don't want anybody else living with us. Thank you, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to move
So,
kids out.
but tell me about the placement, like why there?
So a couple of reasons. Cherry Road is, the front of the house actually faces Plan North. The road, we're basically, Cherry Road, as it goes around the yard, is like side yard to us, because the house faces that way.
Right.
So we're trying to stay with that kind of theme with the garage, where the driveways will go out towards the front of the house, the peaks and the colors and everything, the windows will match the house. And actually, the yard is lower there by about 4 feet, so that the peak at 21 feet matches basically the peak of the house, because the house is up on a raised area of the yard.
And that east side, so you're saying that's not a well-traveled road?
It's a very quiet road, if anybody's familiar with it.
Yeah. So, that, because on a busy road, that might not be a good spot for a driveway.
Right, it's all vegetation right now, so there's a couple of reasons we want to try to, leave a little bit of the yard. One is, kids' area to play, and two, there's a lot of pretty nice trees out in the kind of the interstitial space between where the garage would be and the other, and we're trying to save a few of those, so.
Okay.
Her magnolia, to be quite honest.
It's a magnolia? What kind of magnolia?
I don't know, big pink flowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are gorgeous trees.
Yeah, we have a lot of great vegetation on the
Okay,
property.
granted, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool. So there's some, so there are trees in between that prevent you from wanting to push it closer to the deck? And this the east side is not well-traveled?
If you see three or four cars go by in a day, it's probably a lot.
Right.
And 2 of them are Amazon.
And this, you're saying that the style and the pitch and so forth is similar to the house?
Yeah, we're going to try to match not only the color, but the roof shingle color and everything else to just match the house.
Okay. Board members, questions?
There are some beautiful trees there. How many of those are you going to take out?
I honestly don't know until we have a site contractor come in. We're going to try to save as much on, I guess, the left of the new drive. To the right aren't the nice trees.
One-
I honestly don't know until we have somebody come in and look at what they need to do to construct the slab.
Sometimes my wife and I walk that area. And my wife asked me, when I mentioned that we were going to be looking at this house, she says, the driveway, was there a garage there originally, where that driveway is?
So prior to us owning it, I believe, and I can't say for sure, that our master bedroom used to be, at least it appears that used to be a garage. I can't say for sure.
That makes sense.
Just by the floor plan, that makes sense.
Right. There's been a couple additions over the years. We haven't done one, but you could just tell by the build of the house.
Yeah. And then there's a little shed attached to that.
Right, which is literally, how many square feet would you say that is? They're very small.
Almost 2 by 4 or something.
Right, yep.
Okay, thank you for that information. Now I can tell my wife.
Tell her she could come see it any time. There's literally no storage space
She
in the
walks
house.
by there all the time, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions, board members? No? Okay. You guys want to add anything else?
Not unless you guys want to ask anything else.
Nope, not yet. Not yet. Lighting on this, anything out of the ordinary? You're not putting up any, like, 100-foot light pole?
No, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a light in the front by the garage, but
Okay.
that'll be it.
So nothing out of the ordinary in terms of
No.
lighting? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone out there want to speak on behalf of this petition, for or against? No? Okay. I mean, normally I would probably want them to push it a little bit not more on the property, but it seems like that the area is fairly isolated. It's, you know, it's, so. It is, but it doesn't sound like anybody's making that corner real fast. Yeah, exactly. No, no. Right. And Magnolias have a soft spot. Exactly. Yeah, I know, I should have gotten one. Okay. So everybody's okay with? Okay. All right, anyone want to make a motion to approve? I did say that I was going to do that. I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Nothing yet.
You want me to make another motion?
If you want, I did say I would make one, didn't I?
I'm on a streak here.
You are, you're doing great.
Motion to approve the petition of Renee Driscoll and William, is it Lucci? Yeah, okay. The chairman has read the petition into the record. They're asking for a dimensional variance. It's mainly for height of the garage that they're building. And everything seems to be in order. There was no opposition or support for this petition from anyone in the audience. And you did read the materials into the... Correct. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant. Mainly because all they're doing is wanting to put a garage in there. There may have been a garage on the property previously, but the house has been expanded in the past. And now this is probably one of the few places on the property where a freestanding garage could reasonably go. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain. They've been in the house for a while. They're not planning to sell anything here. They just want a garage so that they have a little bit more space above the garage for storage of equipment and stuff, and to relieve some space in the house for the number of people that reside in that house right at the moment. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. Simply, they're really just adding to a garage to the property. They are going to take down some foliage. It may be closer to the road than things are in that general area at the present time, but there's really nothing that they can do about that. And some of their neighbors may be relieved as to having cars on the street and going into a garage rather than being on that street. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, as determined by the fact that there's very little room in the rest of the property, because they don't want to get any closer to the deck area as such, and they do want to leave some of the beautiful trees that are in that area as such. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, simply because they need the garage there, and they need the storage area above the garage. And that means that the height of the garage has to be higher than the amount allowed. And as a result, I move approval of this petition.
Motion is made by Mr. Rosen. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Hicks. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Motion passes. Good luck. You're welcome. So next on the agenda, we have the petition of South County Survey LLC of 382B Main Street, Wakefield, Rhode Island, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a 16-foot by 30-foot detached garage located 20.2 feet from the front north property line and 10 feet from the corner side east property line. The required front and corner side yard setback is 40 feet. Therefore, a relief of 19.8 feet and 30 feet is required. Lot size is 0.4 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 208, and non-conforming lots of record, accessory building setback requirements, section 5031, accessory structures, and section 907 are standards of relief. Owners of the property are John Casamini and Dawn Spooner for premises located at 3641 Post Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 77-3, Lot 54, and is zoned R40. For this, we have the application signed and dated May 18th, 2023. Owner authorization signed and notarized May 16th. Elevation and floor plan, there are 12 pages, prepared by Drafting Concepts and stamped and signed by S.M. Neem Akther. The physical engineer. Proposed condition assessments, 1 page, prepared by South County Survey, Inc., stamped and signed by James T. Calderon, PLS, and dated May 18th, 2023. 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Cagnetta, members of the board.
Good evening.
I'm James Calderon, professional land surveyor, Caldarone.
And do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So please tell us what you guys like to do.
So, like you said, 3641 Post Road, Assessors Plat 77-3, Lot 54. It's in the R40 zone. They'd like to build a 16 by 30 garage. It's a car and a half wide by 30 feet deep for additional storage with a small storage loft above as well. Due to the unique characteristics of the property, they have 3 streets that they have on 3 of the 4 sides. 2 of which are a private right-of-way that is platted to have the 11 lots that are in South Kingstown have access to that private right-of-way, but only 2 lots actually are served by it. So essentially a driveway for 2 lots to pass on the easterly and northerly sides of the property. And the relief requested is the least relief necessary to maintain a passage between the existing deck and the proposed garage.
Meaning passage of what? People?
Oh, people, yeah. Yep,
maybe a machine here and
there? Yeah, able to get through with a wheelbarrow, or, I don't even know if a small machine would make it through there. Maybe a lawnmower.
How?
It's 6.7 feet.
Okay.
Yep, not large enough for a car.
Right, okay. And why detached? Why not connected?
I think I would have to defer to the owner on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just,
John,
go ahead. I mean, if you've got more to add, we can keep going. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
John
So-
Cosimini, Cosimini.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent.
We would love an attached garage. I don't think it's feasible at all. All our electrical is all on that side.
Okay.
Our big transfer for the generators there, the mini split stuff. It would cost a fortune, and we'd be asking for a variance to go right up to that line. But would love an attached garage, but just not going to happen.
Okay, fair. Thank you. And as you say, what we're seeing in terms of property lines is not what exists there, in terms of how the
Right, exactly.
area is used.
The gravel driveway that services the 2 lots is actually all the way over on the easterly side of the private right-of-way. So there's still, a buffer of almost 30 feet from the proposed garage to the driveway easterly and 40 feet northerly.
And so you say it's a right-of-way for only one other house?
Two houses
houses.
are actually accessed there. Yep.
And you've talked to these two other building owners?
The owner has, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And no objection from neighbors
No
so far?
objection.
Seems very similar to what we were just talking about.
Yes.
So being that there's only two people coming down that drive, is it paved or is it?
No, it's gravel.
It's gravel?
Yep.
So nobody's coming around at a high rate of speed?
I would hope not.
There's, so blind
It's
spots?
a sharp corner.
It's a sharp corner, okay.
Yeah, and it's gravel, and it's maybe 11 feet wide.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it seemed pretty tight.
Yep.
So what we're seeing on paper isn't necessarily what we're seeing if we were there in terms of setback.
That's correct.
Okay. Board members, questions? Mr. Rosen?
Church Street to the north, does that exist, or is that just paper?
There's a driveway that accesses two properties. That's it.
That's a driveway, Church Street?
It's a driveway, yeah, for all intents and purposes, both to the, there we go, both to the east and to the north.
Well, I was there, Post Road, didn't go down the driveway, so I'm just asking this because I don't know what Church Street is. In the petition, it says it's a paper driveway. I didn't know what that was.
A road that is not built.
Paper road, I'm sorry.
Yeah, paper road, yeah, a road that is not built. Yep. Not improved for,
But yet, that's the front of the property?
that's, the front of the property is actually Post Road, where they have 40 feet of frontage, 40.02. They also have a front setback from Church Street to the east and a corner side setback, or is it the other way around? Corner side from the north, and there's two fronts, a corner side and a side. I actually don't know for sure which one is the corner side and which one is the other front. Sorry.
So there were,
Yeah, I'd interject. There is no corner side. It's the same setback because Church Street
They are the same
has a
setback.
90-degree turn. It would appear as two intersecting streets, but it's the same street. So fronts on three sides,
fronts on three?
on three property lines, rather. Excuse me.
Okay.
There's probably not many other
Very
lights,
unusual.
not many other lots in South Kingstown that have three fronts.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, we don't allow garages in the front.
Tough to find a non-front.
There are three fronts.
That's correct.
It almost sounds like a war out there, so.
Three fronts.
That's all I wanted to know.
That's it? Okay. Board members, any other questions? No?
I have one.
Sure, Ms. Hicks.
Would you put this
Mm-hmm.
would the garage doors, if you will,
Yep.
access to the garage, be where it says proposed garage and where the hand is?
Nope, it's actually going to be facing Post Road on the southerly side. No problem.
Okay.
That's correct. Oh, no, it's a single car garage. Yep, yep. Yep, no problem.
Any other questions, board members?
This is one story?
That's correct. There's a small storage loft above it, but it's not considered a story.
This is only going to have electricity?
Electricity only, excuse me, yes.
Like to add anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on behalf of this petition, for or against? Nope. Again, seems, seems okay off paper. I think it looks tight when it's on paper, but obviously the conditions on site sort of dictate otherwise. Now, Jamie, could this street someday become a full-blown street? Like, is there a concern that someday this actually existing?
They would excuse me, they'd have to offer it to the town, and it would have to meet town standards, which would be considerably costly.
Right? So it won't be as if that this is going to be in the way someday, potentially. Very unlikely.
Very unlikely, certainly.
Fair enough. It's good enough for me. All right. Any other comments? Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. Okay. Someone want to make a motion, or I'll do it?
I can do it one more time.
All right, man.
Okay, motion to approve the petition of, where is it? South County Survey LLC, as represented by James Calderon, surveyor, right? Yeah. As described by the chairman previous to the discussion, seeking a dimensional variance to put a detached garage located 20 feet from the front and 10 feet from the corner side property line. Okay. Mr. John Cosmini and Mr. James Calderon spoke on behalf of the petition. There were no individuals who spoke from the audience either for or against the petition. The chairman introduced all the materials that we have in hand associated with this petition, and as a result, the board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and structure, and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant. Mainly, this is a very, very unique property. It has 3 fronts, and the garage is going to go off of one of those fronts, off of Church Street, which surrounds the property on 2 sides. And the garage opening for cars will be off of Post Road to the south, as such. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant, and it does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain, simply because he's planning to, Mr. Cosmini is planning to stay in the house and use the property as a permanent residence. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area and impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. Hopefully, Church Street will remain as it is now and will not have any problems associated with this garage being off of it, as mentioned by the chair. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, since that's one of the few places on the property where the garage could go. Even though the owner would like it to be attached, there are concerns associated with that. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, simply because it would cost him a great amount of money to attach it to the residence, and placing it where they're proposing it be placed seems like reasonable. And I believe there's a shed there, right? And that shed is going to be gone, so that there is a structure there now, and there will be a structure in the future. And thus, I move approval of the petition.
Excellent. Motion is made by Mr. Rosen. Can I get a second?
I'd like the second.
Second by Mr. Diamond. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Motion passes. Good luck.
Moving right along.
Yeah. Good petitions. Thorough. The petition of BWJW LLC of 17 Edith Road in Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882 for a special use permit under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a 60-foot by 110-foot detached storage building associated with the existing outdoor recreation facility, which is use code 33. The lot size is 122 acres. Special use permit is required per the zoning ordinance, section 301, schedule of use regulations table, and section 907C, continuation or extension of special uses. Owner of the property is BWJW LLC for a premises located at 371 Rose Hill Road, South Kingstown, Assessor's Map 33, Lot 30, and is zoned R40. For this, we have the application signed, dated May 18th, 2023. Owner authorization signed and notarized May 18th, 2023. We have a site plan, one page, prepared by Dupree Engineering and stamped and signed by Michael E. Gavitt, PLS, and dated February 10th, 2023. Elevation and floor plans, T1.0, A1.0, A11, A20, A30, A31, prepared by CD Home Vision and dated May 15th, 2023. We have an email of one page dated May 17th, 2023, and specifications sheet of 6 pages. Consultation report of 13 pages prepared by Primantel Consulting, Inc., and dated May 30th, 2023. A 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and a notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening. Attorney Mark Fay for the applicant, board members. As you indicated, I have with me Ed Pimentel, zoning planning expert, to prepare the report for you. I will leave, it's a pretty substantial application we put together. I know the report probably answered most of your questions, but if you do have any additional questions, that's why I have Mr. Pimentel here in regard to this project.
Fantastic. Mr. Pimentel has spoken before this board before, so we can certainly recognize him as an expert. And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do. Edward Pimentel for the record. That's P as in Paul, I-M-E-N-T-E-L. As Attorney Mark Fay indicated, what we're seeking permission today is to introduce an accessory storage structure. I mean, it's a sizable structure, but what we're trying to accomplish is there are some dilapidated structures. If you see on the lower, almost right where the private right-of-way enters the property. So we're going to get rid of some of those dilapidated structures. In addition, some of the materials are kind of scattered in the site. There's golf carts, lawn mowing equipment. Another thing, because of the shooting range, they have to keep the filters changed, and they have to keep it by regulation, the regulations of the industry. They have to keep a number of filters on site. They're stored in a container. It's kind of a little haphazard, so what we were hoping to accomplish is build this one new structure and keep everything nice and clean inside. In addition to that, because of the size of the structure, we're able to introduce a rooftop solar, accessory rooftop solar, in accordance with now your revised solar ordinance. Everybody's gotten away from the principal usage of solar because it was distributing too much residential land resources. Everybody wants to go to the accessory, meet the energy needs of the on-site entity, and do so in a rooftop manner. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So this operation will be almost entirely operated by renewable energy, and the accessory structure will help to clean up the site. What we did also in consideration, it's a large site, it's 122 acres, well vegetated, but in consideration of keeping it as far away from any of the residential properties, surrounding properties, was to put it right behind the facility and keep it literally thousands of feet away from the nearest residences so that it wouldn't be an impediment. Not that we think it will be, but I know people sometimes are concerned about the solar. Other than that, the reason why we asked for the solar company to give all that additional info, as I know that people sometimes are concerned about noise and so forth with the inverters. None of that's going to be an issue here, but that's why we put it into the record to address those, if those were concerns. I did address the standards for the granting of the special use. They're predominantly applicable to more like principal usage of the property. We're not intensifying the property in any manner. This is going to be incidental to the operation. And
So they're not going to be operating like a garage where, there's repair of vehicles or welding or?
100% storage.
Okay, so it's primarily storage. So the previous use of this site, you don't have a lot of use for those outdated buildings on the property? So you can,
They're actually they actually, for most part, are being used in a haphazard manner, so we're hoping to consolidate in a new structure and get rid of some. There are one or two that are going to be restored.
Right.
They have some historical integrity, like an old barn and everything.
Yep.
If you're familiar with the property.
I am.
The Tillinghast barn is on that property.
Yep.
Around the Tillinghast barn, before we purchased it, the prior owners had built the kennel.
Yep, just speaking to the mic.
They had built the kennels around it.
Yes, they did.
They're actually kind of ugly.
Yeah, well.
Right now, though, the kennels are like, there's still the footings left outside.
A lot of
So a lot of our equipment is parked. I mean, this is a large acreage. We have a lot of tractors. We have a lot of snow plow removal. We have a lot of gators, ATVs, stuff like that to maintain everything out there. Right now, they're pretty much parked out there. Some are parked underneath because there's a little overhang. We'll be able to get everything into this warehouse now, get rid of that. And eventually, what we want to do is get rid of all that and then redo the barn. So near the barn, again, they built like a shack to the right of it. That's where we store all those biodegradable sporting clays, which are a substantial number of sporting clays. They're going to be moved into this facility also, and we want to get rid of that little, it's not small, but it's kind of a dilapidated storage facility. It's been there since who knows how long. Everything's going to be going into this facility now.
So I'm assuming that sporting clays can't sit outside?
No. No.
Especially when you say biodegradable.
They're biodegradable, and they come like in cardboard boxes.
So they break down pretty fast?
Yeah, and one of the issues we had when we have this big ugly storage container behind the building right now where this is.
Right.
It's like one of those things you see on a cargo ship.
Right.
And again, most of that, I don't know if you realize it, but the air filtration system on our gun range is like hospital quality.
Right.
He almost got taken over during COVID because they were going to use it as hospital space. That's how clean the air is in there.
Sure.
The air filtration system, both of them, they're two separate ones because we have two separate independent 8-range areas. They're almost the size of school buses. So we're talking filters that are, I know, like this by this, like 3 levels of them. They're huge. And the system itself is actually monitored by Action Target, the people that built it for us. And if the air quality becomes out of compliance, they can actually shut it down.
Interesting.
So
this remote.
Oh, yeah, it's monitored. The whole thing is monitored. And so we have all the filters to make sure we change it when we're supposed to and all that stuff. But if something ever went sideways, if we didn't have the filters on site to replace immediately, it would shut down.
And so the use of the property staying the same, you're not intensifying that this isn't going to increase the amount of people that's showing up on site or anything like that? It's
Nothing like that.
help
The special
organize.
use permit is based upon an indoor gun range with 16 lanes inside. This is not going to increase the shooters. It's not going to be anything to do with this storage facility to do with anything to do with shooting. It's really storage, and the secondary benefit to us, obviously, is the solar.
Right.
We only have propane and electric out on site. Our electric bill is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
$7,000, $8,000 a month.
Sure.
So this is going to help we're hoping this is going to maybe cut that in half.
You're going to do some on-site storage too? Like battery storage or anything
Yes.
like that?
Yeah, there's going to be on-site battery storage. I think it's somewhere in the plans.
Yep.
That's more, it almost acts as an emergency backup generator, but it also, we get hit for, it's like, I forgot what it's called, but the electric company has a like maximum use fee. So they figure out what your maximum use could be on any given month, and they charge you for it, even if you don't hit it. It's like $1,500, $1,700 a month that we pay for electricity that we might never use. It's this maximum use thing. It's crazy. By having the batteries, we can have it stored there, and we can get rid of that fee.
Right. And that's obviously just part of their submittal is to make sure all of that is properly stored and housed and so forth. But, okay.
I addressed the standards of the special use permit, but I don't know if you want to belabor that. It's in the report.
No, I think it's all reasonable. I mean, based on sort of exposure to the general public is pretty much nil. This is far enough away, it's.
Can't see it.
This is not like a principal solar operation where you have
Right.
concern about noise from the inverters and so forth. It's nothing like that.
Right.
If you look back to the survey, the map, and I think when you look at the map, northwest goes this way down the middle of the property. Most of the community, it's it's way, you can see it's way down here to the, I guess that would be the west, or the west, and then up toward the north over there. There's only, I don't think there's anything over to the right. The transfer station, you know, that is back there, the transfer station, if you go up that way, and there's big open fields back there. There's none, so no one's gonna even be able to see this thing from anywhere around it.
And once again, we purposely also put it north of the building for the purpose of using it as a buffer in case for visuals. I don't even think anybody's going to see it anyway, but that was purposely done in that manner.
Okay, sounds fair. Any questions from board members? Not. Yeah, seems very reasonable. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone out there want to speak on behalf of this petition? John? No? Okay. Yes? If you want to, you have to come up and state your name.
Yep.
Yeah, so come on up, and all you have to do is state and spell your name and do your best to tell the truth.
John Grimes, Aaron Ave in Wakefield,
And spell your last name for us?
Grimes.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So what's your question?
My question is, I believe this structure is going to require a slab, concrete slab?
Yes.
So they'll be doing construction?
There'll be footings and...
Footings.
Yeah, there'll be...
They'll be digging that out?
That's right.
My question is, I know for a fact that when this land was looked at for development back in the day, prior to the new owners, that any development would have to have the land 1 foot down, removed and brought to a hazardous waste, due to the note of lead that's been expiated, because this is the oldest shooting preserve in the state.
Right.
The amount of lead that's in this area.
Sure.
If that soil is going to be disturbed, and not be taken to a hazardous waste or just placed on the soil, there's more lead contamination that will be.
Yeah, you don't want to spread that.
You don't want to spread it, you
Yeah,
don't want to
sure.
move it, you don't want to leave it there.
Yeah.
And where is it going to go?
Sure.
I'm asking the town as being preview to the responsibility of this, because there's a stream right directly behind this property.
Yep.
That goes into the entire town of South Kingstown.
Right.
And if that soil is disturbed and is not remediated, there's a good potential that could end up in the stream and could be
Absolutely.
polluting and could be transported throughout the city.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
No. So we can find out from them what their plans are with the site and how they plan on excavating and so forth.
Yeah, and
We
what
can
they're
ask them
going to
all
do with that soil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We can ask them that.
All right.
No, thank you.
Thank
Thank you. And if you have follow-ups, you can come back up. Do you want to address that? I mean, because I was...
Well, I can address that.
Yeah,
if you have another-
yeah, no, but I would assume at a project like this, you're going to need to have some phase, phase 1 engineering and so forth?
No, there's
or
no lead contamination there. Because of the transfer station in that area to the right over there.
Yep.
We're tested like every year. There's test wells. Again, the shooting doesn't take place where that warehouse is.
Okay.
The shooting takes place, you see where the main building is?
Yep.
It's more to the left. It goes to the left, like where the outdoor sporting clays are.
Yep.
It's out to the left and out that way. It's
Okay.
nothing, there's no shooting going on over here, nothing. And we have test wells right near, I think it's in between our structure and where the barn is located.
Okay.
A test well.
Yep.
Because we're under, whatever they did with that transfer station, that was a Superfund.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years ago. They come out, they left the test wells, they were just out here.
Okay.
There's no contamination. Plus, the aquifer is under this thing. You know, the aquifer is under this. So there's no lead contamination in this area over here, and there's nothing a foot down or more than that in that area at all. And again, we're tested like every year, and then we're in
And
compliance.
how long has this been, I mean, was it a shooting preserve before you guys?
Yeah, it was.
was.
It was
right.
for years before we had it. The Frisellas had it for, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Right.
But again, I don't know. Again, it's kind of like an arc. See where that in is?
Yep.
If you go down a little, they kind of an arc, it goes up to that property line. It's all up that way.
Okay. Okay.
That's just big open. Yeah, you can get a picture. See that area? There's nothing over there. If you go look this way, if this is a recent photo, you go that way with this.
barn, right? Oh, the barn's over there, okay. Oh, that's the new building, the 130, yep. Okay. Okay. Have you, was there any need to, or have you had, well, yeah, I guess you just said that you had some testing done.
Every day, we have testing wells left over because of the Superfund failure, and they come out and they test it whenever they want. I think they were out.
Aquifers, it's not so much soil sample as much as just water sample type stuff, right?
Yeah, they want to make sure there's no infiltration of lead into the surface or anywhere down there that could get into the aquifer. But it's more because they had the Superfund site. They were concerned about when they had that cleanup to the, wherever that transfer, they were worried that it could seep down from to the right, to the left. So they built all these test wells and they check them every year. There's nothing.
And you're not going to be close, you're not near a water feature that this is going to be built?
Nope. The Sakonnet River, Sakasant, I'm probably saying that wrong.
Saugatucket?
Saugatucket.
Yeah, that's up, you can see it up. I guess if that's north, up east, it's way on the boundary of the property.
Got it. Oh, right over there. Okay.
Yeah, and we're working with, we always work with DEM and the nature conservatories and all that, so we might be building a fish ladder somewhere. Something's, one of these ponds or something they want. No, but it's fine, there's no issue with that at all.
And Jamie, is there any, or Mr. Gorman, is there any issue where, there's no flags that come up on this property in terms of disturbing soil or anything like that, really?
I mean, he brings up, the first gentleman with the, who brought this up, brings up a good point, but I'm not aware of any restriction that he's mentioning or historical. It had been used as a shooting range since the 50s, but I'm not aware of any contamination that they're obligated to do any kind of testing. But certainly, if he has an engineer that he's working with, to perhaps provide that in writing, and that could be made a condition.
Again, this is a shooting preserve.
Right.
It's under a shooting preserve license, so the rules are totally different with this. We're not obligated to do any of that. Again, the only reason that test well there is because of the Superfund thing.
Sure.
Yeah, we're not required, so.
No, not required, I mean, right.
Yeah, again, the comments that were made, I can't say that they're, true or false, so I don't have any documentation to say that there is any contamination, and the test wells would be from the Superfund site. When they capped, I believe they capped the transfer station that by the dump early 2000s.
But it's not as if this has been flagged as a site by any...
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So we don't, okay. And do you have anything, like, are you thinking anything that we would or should consider?
Well, the only other thing I want to add to that, don't forget, we built that gun range.
Right.
Which is a much larger, deeper cement blockhouse, basically, with a much deeper foundation to support that. We weren't obligated to do any testing there.
Sure.
And there was nothing wrong with the soil there.
No, it's not a question of obligation as much as just concern that there could be soil there that someone...
I mean, again, I don't see that problem, but honestly, I don't even see us removing... This used to be a... it was not a mine, but a quarry. There's like grade A super gravel here. We use our own gravel there. And I would imagine that if you go back, see the main building there, where it is, if you go, let's just say north is up, okay? There's like an old quarry hole back there.
Right.
Most of the time, we just move the dirt in and out of that.
Yeah, so you're moving soil around on that property all the time.
Right, and it just would go it's not going to leave the property, it's probably just going to go there. But again, there's not going to be not much excavation for a warehouse.
Right.
This is
And you're not near a water feature and you're not near neighbors or anything like that. I mean, I don't know of any requirements in the city or anything like that.
Right.
They have to
I would think that if there was such a requirement, we would have been obligated to do when we built that large bunker, that the footing went way down into the subsoil, and we weren't required to do that. We shouldn't be required to do for a very light.
It would probably be recorded.
Right.
A recorded document from DEM or land evidence records, so.
Yeah,
without that, I don't think you can really impose a condition.
Okay. But, I mean,
That would
it's
be my
it's
view
fair
of
to
it.
bring it up. I think it's
Yeah,
just
no,
a
I mean,
matter
it's a
of,
very good point, but
uh,
without any evidence.
it seems like that the site hasn't really shown any, there hasn't been any need to do anything above just normal practices.
Nothing. Again, there's no shooting going on over there either.
Right, right. But, okay. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Do you want to add to that? Go ahead, come on up. And just state your name again, just so we know.
Name is John Grimes. You want me to spell it?
Nope, it's still you.
Still me. That, I just want to make sure that the town is accepting responsibility that any of the soil that's being disturbed for the construction of this facility. I wasn't aware of the other construction of the other facility when it went through. I don't think I ever received anything notice in the mail.
That was 7, 8 years, no. 2014, okay, so it was about 9 years ago that.
Yeah, I don't-
It was.
I wasn't here then, yeah.
Yeah, it was, no, we all participated in sort of that, its placement, but, no, there hasn't been anything recorded, and we were asking if there's anything that has shown up as that particular site being a hazard, and it hasn't necessarily been flagged.
So not knowing how long ago and where they did the shooting, or
Right.
even though they say they haven't done any, because I know the shotgun cells put a lot of lead out.
Absolutely.
There's no requirement from the town to test that soil prior to being disturbed.
Not unless there's some reason to, but even in areas where you can have an elevated level, unless someone tests it, they don't really test. Unless, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, like if, even if you're digging on a site, because you dig the soil up in Providence and you'll grab some lead. And it's not necessarily they have to go above and beyond when they're digging up there, per se.
All right, as long as the town's accepting responsibility, that's what I want.
Well, they wouldn't necessarily accept responsibility.
Yeah, I
think
was
it's
just going to say, we're not going to
awareness
accept
of,
responsibility. I
you know,
mean,
I think it's just.
property owner.
Right, yeah, I think it's just a matter of, you know, best practices in building, but I mean, I deal with old buildings all the time. I have a lead license, and it's just, normally you don't hear about soil issues of disturbing soil and spreading lead. Usually it's kids playing in soil that spreads lead, you know, that gets them sort of, you know, some contamination. But typically we're not talking about it unless you're building Route 6 and 10 of any contaminated soil that's spreading any bad dust.
I just know from going back to 2017, 2018, they were looking at maybe developing that land. Somebody was looking at buying and developing, and they said that if they did develop it, they would have to dig down 1 foot and have the soil removed and treated.
I'm not aware of that, but yeah, they're
That's why I
not here
bring
for
it
that.
up. That's
so,
why they
Yeah.
disturbing the soil, that's why I brought it up.
Unless there was someone expert to tell us otherwise, we just don't know that
Okay,
as fact.
you're not aware. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, you guys good? All right, do you guys want to add anything else? You good? All right, you guys have any, no. Anyone have any thoughts about this? I mean, I think kind of straightforward relative to the property size and the use. For 9 years, they've demonstrated to be a good steward and neighbor. So,
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to give it a shot? Just to, yeah. All right. Let's see if I can remember all this.
They're getting tired of me.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition of BWJW LLC of 17 Edith Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. They're looking for a special use permit to construct a 60-foot by 110-foot detached storage building. And tonight we had Mark Fay, who's the attorney, and Mr. Pimentel, who is a planning and expert, who talked about the placement of this building, storage building, in the, wouldn't quite say the center of the property, but its closest neighbor is about 1,000 feet away. This is a very large property that is used as a preserve a shooting range, and they're looking to have a building that can house their equipment that is necessary to maintain the property. Right now, the equipment is being held in a variety of structures around the property, and they're looking to consolidate it. Also, this building will be useful in having them have some energy independence, where they can generate and store their own electricity as well. There was one neighbor that had some questions, Mr. Grimes, relative to the soil, knowing that the property has been used as a shooting range for some time, about concerns of contaminants. There's no evidence that contaminants did exist by any previous testing, so we can't really enforce any concern for that. But they did present the plans for it, and this is a special use permit, and for that, the board finds that the special use is authorized by this ordinance. The special use is authorized for this particular use at this property. And as I said, this is a fairly large property, so the disturbing neighbors isn't necessarily an issue. We find that the special use does meet all the criteria set forth in the subsection of the ordinance authorizing such special use, because it is not going to necessarily intensify the use of the property. It is just going to merely provide some maintenance, some critical maintenance facility for the building and the business. The board finds that granting the special use will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the ordinance or the comprehensive plan. And in doing so, we have considered whether or not satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made or will be made concerning, but not limited to, the following matters: ingress and egress to the lot. This is a very large lot, so we don't necessarily have to worry about ingress and egress, because that is not going to change. It's also not going to intensify the use. Off-street parking and loading areas. There's sufficient area around the building to navigate. Trash storage and delivery is part of the building's function, so they will have all those things as part of the building. Utilities, availability and compatibility. The utilities for the structure are going to be within code, and again, there isn't any concern relative to neighbors. Screening and buffering isn't necessary because of the distances. Signs and exterior lighting to glare, traffic safety, or anything like that. They didn't mention signs. I'm sure there's going to be some exterior lighting, but there really, again, isn't a concern because of the distance to any neighbors where they cannot be seen. The required yards and other open space, again, it's not going to have any issue. Compatibility with lots, there's really nothing, well, there are some other open spaces around it, but again, it's not going to change anything. So the approval will not have any conditions, and with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Motion made by me, Mr. Cagnetta. Is there a second?
I'd like to second.
Second by Mr. Diamond. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Thank you. So, we're going to adjourn. No, I'm kidding. I try to make it fun. So last, we have the petition of Brian Burke of 44 Liberty Street, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879 for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a a second-story dormer and a one-story deck in the front of the existing dwelling. The deck will be located 12 feet from the property line and 3 feet from the side. property line. The required front yard setbacks is 25 feet, and the required side yard setback is 10. Therefore, a relief of 13 feet and 17 feet is requested. Lot size is 0.2 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 207, non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements, and section 907 are standards of relief. Owners of the property are Brian S. and Kelly L. Burke for premises located at 44 Liberty Lane, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 56-2, Lot 104, and is zoned R10. And for this, we have the application and cover letter signed and dated May 18th, 2023. Owner authorization and notarized, signed and notarized May 12th of this year. Limited content boundary survey, 1 page, prepared, stamped, and signed by Christopher Glenn Palmer, PLS, and dated May 17th, 2023. Artist rendering of 2 pages, photos of 1 page, scope of work drawings A31, 24, 23, 22, 21, A1, dated May 2nd, 2023. 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notices, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Evening.
And you guys are?
Brian S. Burke, B-R-I-A-N S-B-U-R-K-E.
I'm Kelsey Burke, K-E-L-S-E-Y, B-U-R-K-E.
Excellent. And you guys both swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Sure do.
Excellent.
I do.
So tell us what you guys like to do.
We would like to put a second-story dormer on the front and the back and add a porch on the front of the first story.
So tell me a little bit about the property. What's making it hard for you guys to sort of expand
So
without?
the house was built prior to the, what's it, R10? Yeah, to the R10 zoning setback laws. And so the current structure is within 10 feet of the side property line and within 25 feet of the front. And so in order to do any construction, we would need a zoning exception.
Sure. And why this direction? Or so actually, if you went even towards the back, your side would at least still be off.
Correct.
But
We can't do any construction on the left side of the house.
Right.
Without a zoning exception.
A little close. So why not just go in the back?
So it's a pass-through lot. All of the driveways, the driveway is on the Liberty side street. And in order to, if we were to put the porch on the back, we would essentially be changing the entry to the house.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. And is there anyone like you? Is anyone have similar features on their homes around you?
Yep. So if you take a look further in the packet, I took some photos. There's additional houses that actually match the aesthetic to the house that we're looking. There are very few properties that actually have front onto Liberty Street that are within, or that would not need a zoning exception. So most of the properties' fronts of the structures are within 25 feet.
Yeah.
So it matches the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And actually, to the left and to the right, and 2 houses up, you'll see from a height perspective, there's additional photos in there that show, even though we aren't changing the height of our house, it would actually help it to match the aesthetic of the neighborhood because houses on the left and on the right are 3 stories versus our house, which is 1.5.
So dormers on the front and the arbor and the porch in the arbor.
Yep.
Arbor doesn't necessarily need to be. Is the arbor considered part of the built structure, like above the porch? Not really, because it doesn't have a roof.
It's typically an architectural projection, but is there a deck on that lower portion? No?
Yeah, you guys are going to put that deck in, right?
Correct.
With the
Yeah, there is an existing deck, but it's about 6 feet by 8 feet. And so we would be extending it throughout to match the front of the house.
Right.
So the deck would have to certainly meet setback.
Deck would, but the roof, well, it's a deck still, right?
I want to say it's projecting maybe a little bit further, a foot or so with those top cornices, but
Would that count?
no, that would be allowed. It would be allowed by ordinance. Yes, correct.
Do you know what I'm asking them? Do you understand?
Yeah, the how it comes out a little bit further than what the footprint would be.
Yeah, just because sometimes roofs can be.
Yeah, an overhang, something
Yeah,
like that, sure.
And as long as it's not a roof, as long as it's open, then its projection doesn't necessarily matter.
Makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to note that we noticed and advertised from the front of the stair to the property line. So the requested relief is actually from the first tread.
Oh, is it correct? So it is correct?
Yep.
Okay, good, good. Okay, good. All right. So that's good. Your stairs are included as part of the request. That's great. Good job. All right. Board members, any questions? I mean, it's, when was the house built? So you said it was
47?
47?
It was 47, yeah.
And our ordinances weren't until the 50s, somewhere around there? Something like that? Okay. All right, so. It was in the 50s. Yeah, when the man stepped in. All right, so you guys, any other questions for them? Do you guys want to add anything else?
Nope.
There's no one out there, right? I don't have to ask. I should ask
Check the
anyway,
room.
just in case someone wants to call in, phone a friend. So, all right, you guys have any thoughts, ideas, opinions, motions?
Looks very nice to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's a reasonable improvement. They're working off the existing building. It's in character with the neighborhood.
I agree with the applicant that it will make it fit in more with the context than it currently does.
Right now, we look a little weird.
Very weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Yes, also that.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Extra bedrooms.
It's a nice rendering, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thanks. That's,
Okay, someone want to make a petition, or someone want to make a motion, by chance? No? Okay. So, I'll make a motion to approve the petition of Brian Burke of 44 Liberty Street of Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879. Both Brian and his wife, what's your first name again? Kelsey, I'm sorry, spoke in behalf of their petition. It's an existing building that predates our zoning ordinances. The building was built too close to the sideline. It does necessarily have, the front is built within the setback, but they wanted to add a second story and add a front porch, which would be in keeping with the neighbors, and it would also improve the aesthetics of the building. So we think this is a worthwhile endeavor. So no one spoke in opposition or support. We find that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is indeed due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, and is not due to the characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability by the applicant, accepting those physical disabilities addressed in our ordinance. But, and this is because, like I said, the building was built before zoning, and it is close to the side, or actually way too close to the side already, and close to the front. So we find that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant, and does not result primarily for the desire of the applicant to realize a greater financial gain. That is because this house is the improvement is going to make it even more fitting for the neighborhood. So this is not indeed any desire for financial gain. The board finds that granting this request will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, and again, because it'll fit in. The board finds the relief granted is the least relief necessary, and that is because building it towards the rear didn't really make sense just in terms of access to the building, and the aesthetics worked much better in putting it in the front. So we find that the hardship suffered by the owner if the dimensional variance was not granted would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. And that's because there's no reason why this shouldn't be allowed, because it does fit in with the neighborhood. No conditions And so therefore, I'd like to make a motion to approve this petition. Mr. Cagnetta made the motion. Is there a second? I will second. Ms. Hicks, seconded. Any other discussion? Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Ms. Hicks? Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Diamond?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank
Good luck, guys.
And Jess, Jamie, thank you guys for the help.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they? This is why it went so smooth. I mean, people don't realize. They think it's me, has nothing to do with me. I tell you, if we were going to go by glossy, the visuals do help. Good job. Congratulations. Good luck, guys. Okay, we have the minutes from the May 17th meeting. Anyone want to make any changes, alterations? All in favor in their approval? Aye? Any opposed? No. No July meeting. Oh, were they? May 31st. Oh, sorry, I don't have those. Oh, is it right after? Okay, sorry, I should read. So, May 31st minutes, any changes or alterations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So, no meeting July?
No meeting July. We only got one petition in, so we're just going to continue it until August.
Sweet. I know. I know. Yeah. I think I'm here. It's not on my calendar. That's it. That's it.
Very good.
You good? And so Tom will be back then. Okay. Next month? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And is there anyone else was interested in the board?
This coming Monday, town council meeting.
Oh, great.
Appointment. See how it goes.
Have they ever denied anyone?
Not while I've been here.
No, they have.
Have you?
That's assuming they do the BCI
It was
checks.
a woman.
Do they? Do they do background checks for that?
When was I here? Or was that-
I hope they don't do one on me now. No, I'm kidding. Gotta be careful on tape.
Yes,
Oh.
they have.
They have?
Yes.
Oh, okay, fair. All right, well, that's a good process. Anything else we need to cover? Yeah, yeah. It's it, it's it. The kids are getting older, man.
It's true, my little toddler, she said to me tonight, Dad, leave on time. She said,
Wow.
we're eating dinner, and
Child guilt.
she said, Dad, leave on time. And I was like, okay, I better go down.
She's
Ate my dinner on my way to the station.
awesome.
When do we elect Rob as the next?
Is that soon? I thought we did that. Oh, is it? Okay. Nice. Yeah.
He's allowed to campaign, right?
Battle of strength.
Battle of strength, that's
You know,
It all starts with an arm wrestle.
airing the grievances, you know?
Yes, good to meet you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion, so moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye.